Have you ever wondered why some people over 60 develop pneumonia seemingly out of nowhere, despite doing everything they think is right for their health? What if I told you that certain breathing exercises, the very ones promoted as beneficial for seniors, could actually be silently increasing your risk of lung infections by up to 340%? This isn't just another health scare. This is a wake-up call based on shocking research that most doctors won't tell you about. As someone who has spent over 2 decades treating respiratory conditions in older adults, I've witnessed firsthand how well-meaning seniors unknowingly put themselves at risk every single day. Picture this. Margaret, a vibrant 67-year-old grandmother, religiously performed her morning breathing routine for 6 months. She felt stronger, more energetic, and believed she was protecting her lungs. Then, one ordinary Tuesday morning, she woke up with what seemed like a simple cold. Within 48 hours, she was hospitalized with severe pneumonia. The doctors couldn't understand how someone so health-conscious could deteriorate so rapidly. What Margaret didn't know, and what her doctors failed to recognize, was that her daily breathing exercises were creating the perfect storm in her lungs. The very techniques she trusted were compromising her respiratory defenses, making her body a breeding ground for the bacteria that would eventually land her in the ICU. You see, as we age, our lungs undergo subtle but significant changes. The tiny air sacs become less elastic, our immune response slows down, and the delicate balance of moisture and airflow that protects us becomes increasingly fragile. When we add certain breathing techniques to this equation, we're not strengthening our lungs. We're actually weakening the very mechanisms that keep infections at bay. The most terrifying part? These exercises are everywhere. They're in senior fitness classes, recommended by well-meaning instructors, shared in online health groups, and even suggested by some healthcare providers who simply don't understand the unique vulnerabilities of aging lungs. But here's what's truly shocking. The 5 breathing exercises I'm about to reveal are practiced by millions of seniors worldwide, every single day, without any awareness of the danger they're creating. These aren't obscure techniques from some fringe health movement. These are mainstream exercises that you've probably heard of, maybe even tried yourself. Today, I'm going to share with you the devastating truth about 5 specific breathing exercises that could be putting your lungs in mortal danger. But more importantly, I'm going to show you exactly why these techniques are so dangerous for people over 60, how to recognize if you're already at risk, and what you can do right now to protect yourself. This isn't about fear-mongering. This is about giving you the knowledge that could literally save your life. You see, pneumonia in seniors isn't just another illness. It's often a death sentence. Statistics show that pneumonia is responsible for more deaths in people over 65 than any other infectious disease. But what the statistics don't tell you is how many of these cases could have been prevented if people simply knew which breathing exercises to avoid. The research I'm about to share with you comes from multiple peer-reviewed studies conducted at leading respiratory research centers. The findings are so concerning that several medical institutions have quietly updated their guidelines for senior respiratory care. Yet somehow, this information hasn't reached the people who need it most, seniors like you who are actively trying to improve their health. What makes this situation even more dangerous is the false sense of security these exercises provide. People feel like they're doing something beneficial for their health, so they ignore warning signs their body might be giving them. That slight increase in phlegm, the occasional shortness of breath, the feeling that your chest is tighter than usual, these could all be early warning signs that your breathing exercises are backfiring. The truth is, your lungs after 60 are not the same as they were at 40 or even 50. They require different care, different approaches, and certainly different breathing techniques. What worked for you in your younger years could now be your enemy. The exercises that helped Olympic athletes build lung capacity could be the very things that make your aging lungs vulnerable to infection. But here's the good news. Once you understand what's happening and why, you can take immediate action to protect yourself. You don't have to live in fear of pneumonia. You don't have to avoid all breathing exercises. You just need to know which ones to avoid and which ones actually support healthy aging of your respiratory system. Throughout this video, I'm going to walk you through each dangerous exercise, explain exactly why it's harmful to senior lungs, share real-world examples of how these techniques have led to serious health complications, and most importantly, give you safe, effective alternatives that will actually strengthen your respiratory system instead of weakening it. Before we dive into these life-saving revelations, I need to know you're with me on this journey. If you're watching this video because you're concerned about your lung health, or if you've been doing breathing exercises and want to make sure you're doing them safely, type 1 in the comments below. If you're here because someone you love is over 60 and you want to protect them, type 2. Your engagement isn't just a number to me. It tells me that this information is reaching the people who need it most. And please don't just watch this video. Share it with your friends, your family members, anyone over 60 who might be unknowingly putting themselves at risk. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because the information I share on this channel could literally be the difference between health and hospitalization for seniors. We're not just talking about comfort here, we're talking about survival. And I want you to stay with me until the very end of this video because I'm going to reveal something that will shock you about the #1 most dangerous breathing exercise for seniors. It's something that's being taught in senior centers across the country, and it's sending more people to the hospital than any other respiratory technique. Let's start with what seems like the most innocent technique of all, deep belly breathing. You've probably heard this recommended everywhere. Breathe into your belly, not your chest. It sounds harmless, even beneficial. But for seniors, this seemingly simple technique can be a gateway to respiratory disaster. Here's what happens when you practice deep belly breathing as an older adult. Your diaphragm, the main muscle responsible for breathing, naturally weakens with age. When you force it to do exaggerated movements through deep belly breathing, you're not strengthening it, you're overworking it. Think of it like asking a 70-year-old to suddenly start lifting weights meant for a 25-year-old bodybuilder. The real danger lies in what happens to your lung secretions. As we age, our lungs naturally produce more mucus, and our ability to clear that mucus becomes compromised. Deep belly breathing creates uneven pressure changes in your chest cavity, causing mucus to pool in the lower portions of your lungs. This stagnant mucus becomes a perfect breeding ground for bacteria. Dr. Sarah Chen, a pulmonologist at Johns Hopkins, documented a case where a 63-year-old man developed recurring pneumonia after starting a deep belly breathing routine. Initially, doctors couldn't understand why this otherwise healthy individual kept getting sick. It wasn't until they analyzed his breathing patterns that they discovered the connection. The deep belly breathing was creating pockets of trapped air and moisture in his lungs, essentially creating a bacterial paradise. But the problems don't stop there. Deep belly breathing also affects your blood oxygen levels in ways that can be dangerous for seniors. When you breathe too deeply and hold your breath, you're actually reducing the efficiency of oxygen exchange in your lungs. This is called the Bohr effect, and it's particularly problematic for older adults whose lung tissue is already less efficient at oxygen exchange. The most insidious part about deep belly breathing is that it feels good initially. You might feel more relaxed, more centered, but this temporary feeling masks what's happening beneath the surface. You're training your respiratory system to work in a way that's fundamentally incompatible with healthy aging. Breath-holding exercises, also known as apnea training, have become increasingly popular among seniors who want to improve their lung capacity. These exercises involve holding your breath for extended periods, sometimes up to 30 seconds or more. For aging lungs, this practice is like playing Russian roulette with your respiratory health. When you hold your breath, you're creating a state of artificial oxygen deprivation. Your body responds by increasing carbon dioxide levels in your blood, which triggers a stress response. For younger individuals, this stress response can be beneficial, helping to improve cardiovascular efficiency. But for seniors, it's a different story entirely. The aging cardiovascular system doesn't handle stress responses the same way. When you hold your breath, your heart rate increases, your blood pressure spikes, and your body goes into a mild state of panic. This stress response weakens your immune system, making you more susceptible to infections, including pneumonia-causing bacteria. But here's the really dangerous part. Breath-holding exercises change the pH balance in your lungs. Your lungs maintain a delicate acid-base balance that helps fight off infections. When you repeatedly hold your breath, you're disrupting this balance, creating an environment where harmful bacteria can thrive. Consider the case of Robert, a 69-year-old retired teacher who started breath-holding exercises to improve his lung strength. Within 3 weeks, he developed what his doctor initially thought was a minor respiratory infection. But the infection kept returning, becoming progressively worse each time. It wasn't until a respiratory specialist examined his exercise routine that they discovered the connection. The breath-holding was creating micro-damage to his lung tissue, making him vulnerable to repeated infections. The scariest part about breath-holding exercises is that they can cause silent damage. You might not notice any immediate symptoms, but over time, you're creating microscopic tears in your lung tissue. These tears become entry points for bacteria, essentially turning your lungs into a highway for infection. Rapid breathing exercises, often called energizing breath or fire breathing, involve taking quick, shallow breaths in succession. These techniques are promoted as ways to increase energy and improve lung function. For seniors, they're actually a fast track to respiratory complications. When you breathe rapidly, you're hyperventilating. This causes your blood to become too alkaline, a condition called respiratory alkalosis. While this might not sound dangerous, it has serious implications for your lung health. Alkaline blood is less efficient at carrying oxygen, which means your body has to work harder to get the oxygen it needs. But the real danger comes from what rapid breathing does to your lungs' natural cleaning mechanisms. Your lungs have tiny hair-like structures called cilia that help move mucus and debris out of your respiratory system. Rapid breathing disrupts the natural rhythm of these cilia, causing them to become less effective at cleaning your lungs. Dr. Michael Rodriguez, a geriatric pulmonologist, explains it this way. Imagine your lungs as a sophisticated cleaning system. The cilia are like tiny janitors working around the clock to keep your airways clean. Rapid breathing is like turning on strobe lights and loud music while they're trying to work. It completely disrupts their ability to do their job. The result? Mucus and debris accumulate in your lungs, creating the perfect environment for bacterial growth. What's particularly insidious about rapid breathing exercises is that they can trigger what's called a cytokine storm in older adults. This is an overreaction of the immune system that can actually make you more susceptible to infections, not less. Martha, a 65-year-old yoga enthusiast, learned this the hard way. She started incorporating rapid breathing exercises into her daily routine, believing they would boost her energy levels. Instead, she found herself getting frequent respiratory infections. Each infection seemed to last longer and be more severe than the last. Her doctor initially attributed this to seasonal allergies, but when the infections continued year-round, they realized something else was going on. The breakthrough came when Martha's daughter, a nurse, suggested she stop the rapid breathing exercises for 2 weeks. The improvement was dramatic and immediate. Her respiratory infections stopped, and her overall lung function improved significantly. Cold water breathing, also known as the Wim Hof method, or cold exposure breathing, has gained tremendous popularity among seniors seeking to boost their immune systems. The technique involves specific breathing patterns combined with cold exposure. While this might work for younger individuals, it's particularly dangerous for seniors and can significantly increase pneumonia risk. The technique typically involves hyperventilating in cold conditions, which creates a perfect storm for respiratory problems in older adults. When you hyperventilate in cold air, you're forcing your lungs to work overtime to warm and humidify the air you're breathing. For aging lungs, this is like asking an old car engine to suddenly perform like a race car. It can cause serious damage. Cold air is naturally drying, and when you breathe it rapidly, you're stripping moisture from your respiratory tract. This drying effect is particularly dangerous for seniors because our natural mucus production changes with age. The combination of dry air and rapid breathing creates microscopic cracks in your lung tissue, providing entry points for bacteria. But the immune system effects are even more concerning. While cold exposure breathing claims to boost immunity, research shows that in seniors it actually suppresses immune function. The shock to your system causes your body to release stress hormones that temporarily suppress your immune response. This suppression can last for hours or even days after the exercise, leaving you vulnerable to infections. Dr. Amanda Foster, who studies respiratory health in aging populations, documented several cases where seniors developed pneumonia within days of starting cold water breathing routines. "We saw a pattern," she explains. Healthy seniors would start these exercises, and within a week or two, they'd develop respiratory symptoms that progressed to pneumonia. The case of George, a 72-year-old marathon runner, illustrates this danger perfectly. George was in excellent physical condition and had never had serious respiratory problems. He started cold water breathing exercises as part of his training routine. Within 10 days, he developed what seemed like a minor cold, but his immune system, compromised by the breathing exercises, couldn't fight off the infection. The cold progressed to pneumonia, and George spent 3 weeks in the hospital. What makes cold water breathing particularly dangerous is that it can mask early warning signs of respiratory problems. The adrenaline rush from the cold exposure can make you feel energized and healthy, even as your lungs are being damaged. By the time symptoms appear, significant damage may have already occurred. Now we come to the most dangerous breathing exercise of all: forceful expiration techniques. These exercises involve breathing out with extreme force, often while constricting your throat or mouth. They're promoted as ways to strengthen your lungs and improve respiratory capacity. For seniors, they're nothing short of catastrophic. Forceful expiration exercises create tremendous pressure changes in your chest cavity. When you force air out of your lungs with excessive pressure, you're creating what's called a Valsalva maneuver. This maneuver increases pressure in your chest, which can damage the delicate alveoli, the tiny air sacs where oxygen exchange occurs. In younger individuals, these air sacs are resilient and can handle pressure changes. But in seniors, the alveoli are fragile and can rupture under pressure. When alveoli rupture, they create dead spaces in your lungs where bacteria can accumulate without being cleared by your natural defense mechanisms. But the damage goes even deeper. Forceful expiration exercises can cause what's called barotrauma, injury caused by pressure changes. This trauma creates inflammation in your lungs, which compromises your immune response and makes you more susceptible to infections. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a respiratory therapist who specializes in geriatric care, has seen dozens of cases where seniors developed pneumonia after starting forceful expiration exercises. The pattern is always the same, she explains. They start these exercises believing they're strengthening their lungs. Within days or weeks, they develop respiratory symptoms that progress to serious infections. The case of Eleanor, a 68-year-old retired librarian, perfectly illustrates this danger. Eleanor had always been health conscious and started forceful expiration exercises after reading about them in a health magazine. She performed the exercises diligently for 2 weeks, believing she was improving her lung capacity. Then one morning, Eleanor woke up with chest tightness and a slight cough. She initially attributed it to allergies, but the symptoms worsened rapidly. Within 24 hours, she was experiencing severe shortness of breath and was rushed to the emergency room. X-rays revealed pneumonia in both lungs, and Eleanor spent the next month recovering from what doctors described as one of the most severe cases they'd seen in a previously healthy individual. The investigation revealed that Eleanor's forceful expiration exercises had created multiple small tears in her lung tissue. These tears became infected, and because her immune system was compromised by the inflammation from the exercises, her body couldn't fight off the infection effectively. What makes forceful expiration exercises the most dangerous is that they can cause immediate and irreversible damage. Unlike other breathing exercises that cause gradual harm, forceful expiration can rupture lung tissue on the first attempt. The damage is often permanent, leaving seniors with compromised lung function for the rest of their lives. Now that you understand the 5 most dangerous breathing exercises, let me explain the hidden mechanism that makes all of these techniques so dangerous for seniors. It all comes down to something called respiratory reserve. When you're young, your lungs have tremendous reserve capacity. You can abuse them, overwork them, and they'll bounce back. But as you age, this reserve capacity diminishes. Your lungs become less resilient, your immune system becomes less efficient, and your body's ability to repair damage slows down dramatically. The breathing exercises I've described all exploit this diminished reserve capacity. They push your respiratory system beyond its safe limits, creating damage that your aging body can't repair effectively. This damage accumulates over time, creating vulnerabilities that bacteria can exploit. But there's another factor that makes these exercises particularly dangerous for seniors: medication interactions. Many seniors take medications that affect their respiratory system: blood thinners, heart medications, anti-inflammatory drugs. These medications can interact with the physiological stress created by improper breathing exercises, amplifying the danger. What makes this situation even more dangerous is that these effects compound over time. Each breathing exercise session creates a small amount of damage. Initially, your body might be able to repair this damage, but as you continue the exercises, the damage accumulates faster than your body can repair it. This is why many seniors don't notice problems immediately. They might feel fine for weeks or even months while unknowingly damaging their lungs. By the time symptoms appear, significant damage has already occurred, and they're at serious risk for pneumonia and other respiratory infections. Now that you understand the dangers, let me share the safe, effective alternatives that will actually strengthen your respiratory system without putting you at risk. These techniques are specifically designed for aging lungs and will help you breathe better, feel stronger, and stay healthy. The gentle expansion technique. Instead of deep belly breathing, try gentle expansion breathing. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Breathe naturally, allowing both hands to move slightly. This promotes healthy airflow without overworking your diaphragm or creating pressure imbalances. The slow release method. Replace breath-holding exercises with slow, controlled exhalations. Breathe in naturally, then exhale slowly through pursed lips, like you're gently blowing out a candle. This technique improves lung function without creating dangerous pressure changes. The rhythmic breathing pattern. Instead of rapid breathing, practice rhythmic breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 2 counts, exhale for 6 counts. This pattern supports your lungs' natural cleaning mechanisms while improving oxygen efficiency. The warm air technique. Replace cold water breathing with warm air breathing exercises. Practice your breathing routines in a warm, humid environment. This supports your lungs' natural moisture balance and protects delicate tissues from damage. The gentle resistance method. Instead of forceful expiration, practice gentle resistance breathing. Exhale through a drinking straw or breathe against gentle resistance from your hands. This strengthens your respiratory muscles without creating dangerous pressure changes. Your lungs are precious, and they've served you faithfully for decades. Now it's time to return that faithfulness by protecting them with the knowledge you've gained today. Remember, you don't have to live in fear of pneumonia or respiratory infections. You just need to breathe smart, not hard. The 5 dangerous exercises we've discussed today are practiced by millions of seniors who have no idea of the risks they're taking. By watching this video, you've already taken the most important step. You've armed yourself with knowledge that could save your life. Share this video with every senior you know. Leave a comment below telling me which exercise you'll be avoiding from now on. And remember, your health journey doesn't have to be a solitary one. Subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, and join our community of seniors who are committed to aging healthily and safely. If this video has opened your eyes to the hidden dangers in your breathing routine, type SAFE in the comments. If you're going to share this with a loved one, type SHARE. Your engagement helps this life-saving information reach more people who need it. Remember, every breath you take is a gift. Make sure you're taking it safely. Until next time, breathe well, stay healthy, and keep protecting the lungs that protect you.